Hey, you. It's a blind life. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the It's a Blind Life podcast. My name is Aria.
And I'm Belle.
And we are two legally blind sisters who decided to make a podcast just talking about our lives as blind people. We talk about a bunch of different topics about our lives, just other random stuff. It's a variety show.
We talk about what we want when we want.
There's no rhyme or reason to any of it. And today, what we wanted to talk about was the upsides to being blind. Now, actually, before we get into that, big apologies for missing last episode and for there being a gap between episodes. So this happened in the Book Talk podcast as well. So of course it was going to happen to Blind Life. I was hoping it wouldn't, but it did. Where pretty much Belle had to go back home. She was away from where we're currently living.
Let me also preface this. I had to go back to our home state I was gone like 4 days. 4 or 5 days. Like not even a full week. Like
almost a week.
Almost a week, but like 4 of those days were traveling.
Yes. So she had to go back home, and when she came back, I was just like, yeah, no, we'll have plenty of time. And then chaos. All the chaos happened when she came back. And so, yeah, we did not get to record. It didn't happen. And so, yeah, we just kind of had to take the L and try again. And hopefully, I'm hoping that we'll be able to kind of start bulk recording again, so that way we can kind of keep on top of things, because I know this next semester for Belle is going to be a lot.
Yeah, I got a job, everybody.
It's very exciting.
It is. Don't ask me if it's a paid job. I just got a job.
Exactly. So we're going to try to do that, though, so hopefully no more gaps happen. But if they do, normally there's a good reason for it, and the next time where one of us is around or both of us are around, we will explain what happened. So, okay, that being said, now to what we're talking about today, the upsides of being blind. Now, a lot of times when people are talking about disabilities, are talking about different issues, they focus on the negative, what is different. And it's not wrong. I don't want to say it's wrong to do that, but also a lot of times if you just focus on the negative, you actually kind of miss out on the positive in a way. And so that being said, we wanted to kind of, in this episode, just kind of shine a light on that of just, yes, there are things that we have to do differently. Yes, there are things we can't do. Yes, there are a lot of downsides. But at the same time, there are upsides too. And you might not think of them. You might think that they're really weird. But nonetheless, they are upsides. So, do you want to kick it off for the first upside that you can think of?
I was going to have you do it.
Okay, well, the first upside that I can think of is a lot of times when there's something that's like visually gross, like something that's everybody's just like, oh, that's disgusting. That looks so bad. Ew, that's gross. A lot of times we can't see it, which is kind of nice. Now, granted, if it's like a food going bad, then that's when it could be a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, that's when there's a problem. But
for the most part, though, like that's a very small subset of time. And even then, there are other things that we can use to tell that a food is no longer good. So that's...
Yeah, and another downside to that is like we can't tell like how bad our injuries are. Okay, I can't tell how bad my injuries are.
You can't. I can a little bit. But yeah, no, it's, again, that's kind of like a downside and an upside because normally, for the most part, it's actually more of an upside because if it's something that it's kind of on the borderline of needing professional medical treatment.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll just be like, nah, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
we're good.
Or in sometimes that's the downside in my case, such as take my freshman year of college. I learned I can't wear tennis shoes. And my heel of my tennis shoes caught a high curb. And I fell, like, flat on the road. And I skidded and I got, like, road burn on my arm really bad. And none of my friends would help me clean it. So I had to go to the doctor and I'm like, look, I don't know if I cleaned this right. And I don't know if all the dirt's gone and all that stuff. And I have no one to help me. Apparently I got everything.
Well, see?
Yeah, don't ask me how I did that.
See, look at that. But yeah, no, that's, again, for Belle, who is accident prone, it is a downside.
Yeah.
For me, it's an upside.
Well, it's also...
And it's how that I could manage to, like, look at different wounds and stuff, like, in the vet field without being too bothered by it. Because for me, I was just like, meh, it's fine.
Well, like, that's for me in my modern American history course. If anybody takes them and you have a really cool teacher, your teacher may show you something and they're going to be like, yo, just warning you, this is kind of graphic. So, like, if you don't want to watch it, put your head down. And my whole class, granted, I was one of 2 girls in a class of all guys. And you just heard a bunch of them just say, ew, gross. The other girl put her head down. Some of the guys are, like, gagging. And I'm just staring at the screen. And my teacher comes up and he's like, you okay? And I was like, I mean, yeah, why wouldn't I be? Like, are you sure? Like, sir, I can't see this gore. I just saw part of it. I saw, like, the big idea premise of it. But other than that, I saw nothing.
Exactly. It is kind of funny. And kind of tying in with that is not being able to see, like, what people look like. Like,
yeah,
we aren't judgy about, like, other people's appearances ever because we can't see what anybody looks like. So
downside, we can't see what we look like.
That's the only downside. But again, in the long term of things, not that big of a downside. The upside is much more prevalent.
Yeah, although it does lead to some funny things.
It does. We'll talk about those another day.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, this is a me-specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad I can't drive.
Yes.
That is a me-specific thing. As I believe we've said on this podcast before, and we've said on our other podcast, we've said this many times. I am small. I am a small being who the thought of being behind a car terrifies me.
Yeah.
Because I'm so small. I'm like, the thought of me being behind this gigantic motorized thing terrifies me. I don't know if I could see. I don't know how I would handle driving. It terrifies me. Don't ask me how I can get on a horse. That doesn't terrify me. I think that with the horse does have some level of self-preservation.
Yeah, that's why.
So if I'm gonna, like, do something, the horse is gonna be like, no.
No, we're not doing that.
Don't be dumb.
No, we're not doing
Whereas
that.
the car, it's completely under my control, and I don't want that. I mean, downside, I can't go many places without, like, getting an Uber.
Yeah, I mean, again,
or walking.
That's kind of my thing, is that for the most part, I love not being able to drive.
Oh, it's lovely.
It's lovely. We are professional passenger princesses.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. We can't drive. So, like, we are the ultimate.
Yeah, we are the ultimate passenger princesses. We are professionals. Leave it to us. We are the professionals. And if we're going out with friends, we don't have to DD. Like, we can do whatever we want.
Can do whatever we want. Granted, when we go out, Ari and I don't really
we
drink.
The option is there.
The option is there. Granted, we are both over the legal age to drink in the United States, where we live.
Yes.
So for us, we can drink. And, like, if we go out I mean, the most Arya gets is like a drink, and I'll get 2. But I have a higher alcohol tolerance.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends, like, when it was Z's wedding.
Okay, when it's an event like that, that's slightly different.
That's very different.
Slightly different. I'm talking about, like, if we were to go out with some of my law school friends and we decide to walk to a bar.
Yeah, that's very different.
That is very different. And that's also just us thing of we may be blind, but we want to be aware of our surroundings.
Right, exactly. Unless we knew that there was a way for us to get back, like safely.
I've said I wouldn't drink a lot excessively, like at a bar or out in public, unless my dad was with me or my best friend from high school was with me. Mm-hmm. If those two were with me, I know they would take care of me and it would be fine.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think the only other time I drank like more than 2 drinks out was when I was celebrating my roommate's college graduation.
Yeah, and that's different.
And we went to a bar, and it was with her boyfriend, her boyfriend's dad, and her, and me. Mm-hmm. It's like slightly different.
Yeah,
I trusted the dad.
That's different.
Yeah, I trusted the dad.
That's very different. But yeah, no. Again, the upsides definitely more so than the downsides. The only time I would ever really want to drive at this point is if there was an emergency.
Yeah,
but
that's
like,
the only bad thing.
That's literally, I am totally fine with not having a car, not having to worry about gas or car insurance or like mechanical stuff.
I'm good.
I don't need that.
Yeah,
I don't need that in my life. Professional passenger princess right here. Another upside. So another go-to is actually using a cane sometimes.
Oh my
is
gosh.
Kind of an upside.
Because it's hilarious. I get great joy.
Because 9 times out of 10, and I think we talked about this in our cane episode. Shout out to that episode.
That's like the second episode.
Yeah, that's like the second episode. Wow, that's been a while. It's been a bit. But so yeah, when we're using a cane, 9 times out of 10, most people will part like the Red Sea. And it's lovely because you can just go and like people they just move. It's kind of nice because you don't have to worry. Like, again, there are some jerk people. There's always some jerk people, and that's okay. But for the most part, though, people just kind of move. And, like, I have my nice little bubble. No one comes into my bubble. It's great.
Oh, it is very funny, especially when we go, like, to some crowded places with our friends. They'll just, like, shove us in front. And they'll be like, just go.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's so funny, especially when you have, because normally when me and Arya go places, we like to, if we are not doing sighted guide with someone, we like to walk beside each other, which honestly, I don't know why we do it. I think it's like just a mind thing of we don't want to trip each other with our canes.
Yeah.
So walking beside each other or like, unless we're at a distance.
Yeah, it makes it a little easier.
Walking side by side. So like we get wide berth. Which is so funny sometimes. I also get great joy sometimes in when like there's a couple and like one will notice me and the other partner won't. So the other just grabs the partner and just yanks them out of my way. I get great joy in seeing that.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's quite funny. Because then, like, the partner will be like, what did you do that for? And the one who saw me would be like, can you turn your head and look? And then they'll turn and, like, they'll be, like, being ready to start an argument. And they'll turn and they'll see me and they'll just be like, oh. Yeah, oh.
Yeah, oh.
You would have been knocked down, my friend.
Oh, yeah, no. So that's always fun. And, like, when you're trying to go to see a musical or something, sometimes you can get pretty decent seats if you ask.
It depends on the show. It depends on availability, and it depends on other factors.
Yeah, it's not all the time thing.
It's not all the time, but it was a lot with older shows. Newer shows, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, if it's a new show that was like just on Broadway, not gonna happen. That's okay, which is, it's understandable.
But if it's something like Wicked that's been traveling for years and it has come to our city many a time, granted it's still a popular show, But normally, you know, our dad calls and he's like, hi, look, I have 2 daughters who are both legally blind. I need them to sit up close as possible. And people are normally really willing to help work it out.
Yeah, they help and try to get us as close as they can, which is nice. Because,
yes, it's really nice.
Again, this is really only for people with visual disabilities. If you don't have one, please don't do this.
Yeah, please don't.
Please don't ruin it for...
And again, like we said, it's not all the time that happens.
No. A lot of times you can't. Even if you're like, hey, I'm legally blind, I need to sit as close as possible. And they're like, Rosie. And it's like, well, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, they'll be like, here is the ground level.
Yeah,
the last row in ground level.
Only get you like, because I think that's what happened when we went to see Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I was back traveling in no man's land.
I think we were all in separate seats. Like we could only get like one seat in each different thing. And I think
you got the closest.
I think I was the closest. And then I think you.
Yeah.
And then I think Z.
Yeah.
And even then Z was just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, Z was like, this is like the closest I've ever been. And I'm like, oh, Z, this was horrible. Like me and Ari are just like, oh,
this was sad.
Sucked.
This was sad. But again, there was nothing that could be done for that.
Yeah, there was nothing
and that was okay.
And it was fine.
We knew that going in. We knew going in that it was going to be a crapshoot. And we just weren't lucky, and that's okay.
Yeah, there are times you're not lucky, and it's fine. I know some theaters are very accommodating. For my 18th birthday,
yes,
we had a kind of sort of a little tradition, which was very loving of my family to do. We would go to New York for my birthday and just see a couple shows, that sort of thing. Very lucky that my family was able to do this. And for my 18th, my family all got together and got me 2 tickets to see Dear Evan Hansen, which was on Broadway at the time. And, of course, me and my mom got to the theater early, as we do. And a guard just happened to see me and Mom standing outside waiting. And, like, this is, like, 45 minutes before they're to open the doors. But we weren't sure where the theater was. Like, this was a theater we hadn't been to.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we didn't know. You and Dad went to see...
We went to see Hello, Dolly.
You went to see Hello, Dolly. And so, like, we were at opposite sides of Broadway.
Yeah, we were.
So, like, you guys
far.
dropped us off first.
I think so, yeah.
Because Dad wanted to make sure we got to the theater and we knew where to, like, go in. Because sometimes those theater doors,
yeah, sometimes you can't.
Hidden.
Yeah, sometimes you have, like, no clue where you're going.
Yeah, you have no clue where you're going. And because this was really important for me, Dad wanted to make sure that we knew where we were. So we were just standing there, again, super early. Like, nobody's even lined up yet. And a guard just happened to look out and see me, like, I have my cane, I have a hat on, I have sunglasses on, and Mom's still trying to, like, cover my head for the sun because it still was just super bright in the city. And the guard saw, and he's like, are you okay? And Mom was like, oh, no, sorry, it's just super bright for my daughter right now. With the sun reflecting off all the windows and everything, it's just really harming her eyes right now. It's okay, we're fine. Like, you know, trying to be like, it's okay, it's no big deal. And this man took such pity on my poor soul. He let us come in and wait in the lobby. He got somebody, he's like, I'll have somebody check your ticket. And went and got, like, somebody check our ticket and brought us in, and he stood by us and everything.
Aww.
And he was talking to us, and doors still hadn't opened yet, and it was right before doors opened. And he was like, do either of you ladies have to go to the bathroom? And instead of taking us down below, where normally, like, you have to go down steps to get to a bathroom in a theater. That's a lot of how the theaters are. Mm-hmm. He took us to the family handicap bathroom that we wouldn't have found otherwise. Mm-hmm. And he waited for us to be done. He walked us to our seats before anybody entered, and it was like, sir, thank you.
You have made this amazing.
You have made, like, granted, that's not everyone.
Oh yeah, no, that's like a once in a lifetime.
That's a once in a lifetime thing, but there are some very kind people.
Yes.
Who will see it and, like, I don't want to say take pity,
but, like, try to help.
But try to help and make it something. Because, like, before he invited us in, Mom was talking to him and said, you know, oh, my daughter's legally blind and everything. And, you know, we're here to celebrate her birthday. And this is her big birthday present. So I'm just trying to, like, help her eyes before the show. Because, like, sometimes it can be hard for the stage lights and everything. So I'm trying to keep her eyes dark especially for when we go into the theater, it can cause some issues and stuff. And he just was so sweet about it.
Mm-hmm.
That he was like, well, let me try to get you out of the sun and let us in. So sweet.
Yeah.
He told us where things were in the theater, because again, some theaters are really weird. So, like, super sweet.
That was very, very sweet.
Of the guard.
Of the guard. Yeah, but that's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing that does not happen everywhere. We do not expect that kind of thing.
We do not expect it. Like,
anytime.
I was shocked. I kept saying, are you sure this is okay?
Yeah, and
I was so scared of getting in trouble.
And that's the thing, too. It is nice when, like, accommodations can be made and, like, people can be helpful and that kind of thing. But we never go into something being like, I deserve this, I'm entitled to this, like, that kind of thing. Because, no, you're not. But when things just happen to work out and things are nice, it's lovely. It's very nice. Oh, I know one. Being able to tell somebody by their voice or by their footsteps, which, okay, so for those of you who haven't listened to this podcast or are new to this show, I know we've talked about this before, but one of the main ways that we can tell somebody is, for me, it is voice. For Belle, it is footsteps. /voice. And I will admit, it does take a while to learn somebody's voice and to, like, learn who that is. But then, like, once you learn all that, you can be, like, in a crowd of people and, like, all of a sudden you just kind of get almost like a little, like, snippet of, you hear whoever you're looking for and you're able to, like, make your way over to them, which is kind of nice because, yes, it's a different way of doing it. Most people just, like, look for the person they're looking for and they're like, oh, hey, and they just go. But for me, it's just like, I'm just gonna listen. I listen a little bit and then figure out. And, like, also it gives a better idea of where people are around me once I've learned someone's voice. Like, okay, this person's in front of me, this person's beside me, and just a general idea of what's going on.
But only times, like, some people sometimes have very similar voices.
Yes.
And it will be some random person on the street and, like, Arina will stop and we'll be like, is that so-and-so?
Yes.
And we're like, no, that can't be. Like, they're not even in the same state.
Yeah. There can be downfalls. There can be pitfalls. But for the most part, though, it is kind of nice to have that, just being able to do things that way, to do things a different way instead of just relying on vision. It's nice to have that extra thing. And I guess going along with that is kind of the quote unquote superhuman hearing. I don't love that because that's not exactly what it is. No. I think it's more so that because we can't rely on one sense, another sense has kind of taken over to become the primary sense.
Yes.
So in our case, it is sound. I know there are some people that they'll have, like, a better sense of smell or they'll have a better sense of touch, that kind of thing. Like, it's not always hearing. That seems to be what it is most of the time. But all in all, though, it's not necessarily always that.
It's not always that. And going off that, I know for me, an upside is that if I were to somehow, like, if you would blindfold me and tell me go to this place, I can get there because I can count the steps. In my head, when I travel places for a couple times, I will count in my head and I, like, have a mental binder of it is this many steps to get to this crossroad. And then it is this many steps to cross. And then this many steps to cross this way. And then from there to there, it's this many steps to the door of the law school. From the doors of the law school, it's this many steps to the elevator. It's this many steps to the library. It's this many steps to the stairwell. It's this many steps on this flight of steps. Many steps on this flight of steps. From the door to the stairwell. From the stairwell door to this classroom is this many steps. I have counted this out.
Yeah.
To a science.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, that's, like, super easy to always tell where I'm at.
Yeah, and I don't have that skill. I'm bad.
Yeah, I didn't know you didn't do that until like college.
No. Nah. That's why I'm lost in my own backyard.
I didn't realize that nobody did that because like I never talked about, because I was just like, oh, everybody does this. That makes sense. Like if you have a good sense of direction, you know this. And a professor just happened to be walking up the stairs with me, and I was talking and not looking at the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't trip and fall. And granted, we were on the first floor and we had to go up to the third floor where his office was. So he's like, you didn't fall. Like, are you okay? Like, you were just going. And I was like, oh, well, it's this many steps from on this flight of steps, this many on this, and then this many on this flight. And he just looked at me like I had 5 heads. And I'm just like, what? And he's like, how did you know that? And I'm like, because I walked this stairwell about 50 times to know that. And he just kind of looked at me, and I'm like, this is how I get around. I know how many steps, because if you go to college or anything, you know that after first class, you have an unspoken assigned seat. And that is where you sit forever. If you are in that classroom ever, that is where you sit. In law school, I can tell you exactly where in the classrooms, this was my seat. And, like, we all followed that code. Even, like, if we had a different class in that room, we followed the code and sat in our seats.
Lol.
We were nuts. So, like, he was just like, oh, I know it's this many steps from my seat to the door. And he's like, that's not how people get around. And I was like, oh, well, that's news to me.
That's news.
Granted, this is when I'm like a sophomore in college.
Yeah, no, and this is why I could get lost in a tin can. Like, I have, no sense of direction. I just exist. I am just here. I'll get from point A to point B eventually. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
honestly.
just here. I'm all vibes, no thoughts.
Honestly. Oh, here's one that I think is an upside, that this is also just a me thing. We have an excuse not to be outside.
We kind of do.
Like, if we don't want to be outside, we can just be like, yo, it's too bright, my eyes hurt, and just leave.
Because, okay, so that's the thing, right? Most people are going to be like, well, you're not giving it a chance and you're not blah, 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 blah.
No, the sun freaking hurts.
The sun is a deadly laser.
It hurts.
It hurts. It's a deadly laser.
It
it's
messes
no
with our
fun.
vision.
We are photophobic. We are very sensitive to light.
And some people may be like, that shouldn't hinder you from doing X, Y, Z. I don't think you understand what severe sensitivity to light means.
Yes. It means the minute I step outside,
Our eyes close.
Yeah, my eyes are closed. Immediately, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Eyes are closed. And so, even when I have sunglasses on,
Our eyes are squinted.
we are squinting the
Like, we
whole
could
time.
have the darkest sunglasses, a hat, our tinted contacts, and we're still over here.
No,
Like,
if you add in the tinted contacts to the sunglasses, then they're halfway open.
oh, see, I'm like, I need a hat on top of, like, the darkest sunglasses, the tinted contacts, and
Okay.
a hat. Like, then I'm, like, half open.
Yeah, but you have a thing with hats, and I don't understand why.
It's probably because in college I, like, refused sunglasses.
Yeah, that's
So I
right.
just wore hats all the time.
Whereas I'm never without my sunglasses.
Yeah, you prefer sunglasses, and I'm over here like I prefer a hat. It does. It probably does nothing,
Probably.
but for me, I get the placebo effect that I think it's working.
I think it does something.
I think it does something. I'm claiming it does something.
Yeah, so when it's this time of year, summertime, everybody's like, I want to be outside and doing all the things. And like there are some times when you're just like, nah, it's gross outside.
Yeah.
Like it's hot. It's a no from me. But you're like, I kind of have to go. Like I'm obligated. I kind of have to. A lot of times for us, we're just like, nope, too bright.
Too bright.
Bye.
Downside to that, we can't be in the sun for long.
The thing is, I always joke that I'm a vampire, and it is true. I am a vampire
Well, we both
because I do not want to be in the sun. The sun burns my skin and it hurts my eyes, and it's just not a good time. And it's hot. All of those things compounded together. The sun ain't for me. I am not a sun person. It ain't it. It ain't me. It's a no. And you might think it's a downside, but to me, it isn't really. I'm an indoor cat.
Hold on. It's a downside to doing things such as waiting in line outside.
Yeah, well, that's why there should be disability passes, but that's
Disney.
That's going to be a whole nother
thing. But point being, I've seen comments of people being like, oh, well, you can still wait in line. And even if you have a stream sensitivity light, you can still wait out line outside. No, I really cannot, for my safety and the safety of others. Because if I'm outside in sunlight, my eyes are going to keep trying to adjust to the point where I am not going to see.
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to be able to see what's in front of me, what's to the side of me. It messes up everything that I have. Yeah. So, it is extremely difficult to do that. Even when we would go to Universal, when we were at Universal together, granted, we didn't ride any rides, but when it was really bright, we would, constantly be like, okay, where are we in coordination to this next thing? And we would try to just get there as quickly as possible to get inside, to be able to open our eyes, to be able to see, which is also a problem in really crowded places, which will tie into next week's episode.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that is only a very small circumstance.
That is a small circumstance.
The amount of times that's a problem in my life has been 1% of my entire life.
It may become a bigger percent.
Well, we'll talk about that. But yeah, no. With this, 99% of the time, it is an upside.
Yes, it is mainly an upside, but also we are very homebodied people.
Yeah, and that's what I just said. I'm an indoor cat.
We are very much homebodied people. It's a downside to our parents when they're like, we want to go sit on the beach. No, I do not want to go sit on the beach.
I want to go on the beach when it's dark and I can go look for shells.
Yeah, I will walk at sunrise with my dad, and I'll be like, okay, once the sun's really starting to come up, let's go back. And fine. We'll walk at sunset, and me and Aria will walk at night.
Sunset is better for me because mornings are evil.
Yeah, but that's normally what we do. But our parents are like, oh, we'd love to just go and rent a big umbrella and just sit out and relax on the beach. Me and Aria, 5 minutes. I am bored out of my mind. And we're both just like, no.
Indoors.
No.
Indoors.
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 Yeah, no, not for us. So, those things. This is why we had a lot of vacations centered around education.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it is
nerds.
Indeed. What else?
Getting people to order for me at restaurants.
Okay, but listen. That's just you being a ridiculous person.
If it's a fast food restaurant I've never been before, heck yeah, I'm gonna have other people order for me.
You're just being ridiculous.
Because I can't see the menu.
You're just being ridiculous.
So I don't know what I'm ordering.
Ridiculous.
It's true.
Big ridiculous. Yeah, no, that's not really an upside. That is you being...
That is also me, but I'm grasping at some straws right now. Okay, I think I have one, but this is also a me-centric upside.
Okay.
I like being underestimated.
It's
quite great sometimes.
Okay, so yeah, that is very much a you-centric
It is
thing.
A me-centric thing.
Because for me, I think where...
But this is
for
also...
me, it's a double-edged sword. Because it's kind of I like being yeah, I've done 12 impossible things before breakfast, and here you are just whatever. But also, it's just kind of there are times when I'm just you act like this is the biggest thing and it's not that big of a deal.
There are some times when I'm just like, guys, it's not that big of a deal. Let it go.
Yeah, like,
But,
it's
like,
fine.
There are some times that it's like that, but then there are other times that it's just like, for me, especially when people are like, you can't do this thing, and then I'm just like, well, watch me do this thing. And then I do that thing. And that's also a difference in our personalities.
Yeah, because for me, I'm just like, I mean, I do what I want to do.
You do what you want to do, and like, it is what it is, and you don't fight tooth and nail sometimes like I do.
No, because a lot of times
You pick and choose a battle.
Exactly. I am very much I will pick and choose my battles, and if I see, like, I'm doing something and I don't see it working out in a way that is most favorable to, like, the other person and to me, like, sometimes the best course of action is just to be like, okay, I'm just backing off. Like, you do you. I think you're dumb, but whatever. And then other times I will just be like, no. This is not how this is going to go. Let me tell you how this is going to go. And we have a whole fight.
Yeah, which, like, I get, but, like, for me, like, there are some little things that I'll be like, okay, fine, I don't feel like arguing with this, so, like, it is what it is. But there are other times where I'm like, excuse you, I'm gonna do it this way. And I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. It's a time. Times are had. But yeah, no, I think that that's very much a you-centric thing. And
Well, I did say that.
For me, it's very much I don't know. I feel like an upside for me that kind of ties into that is how a lot of people will be like, you're an inspiration. Which,
I hate that.
For me, I'm just kind of like, I don't see it, but like, if this helps you to like accomplish your goals in life, then okay, I'm glad to be of service to you. But like, for the most part though, I'm just like, I mean, I'm just living my life. If I didn't try at all, I would be sitting in a corner catatonic, like,
where you probably think I should be anyway. But
Right.
That's how I take those things. I'm like, you are literally only saying that because I'm not sitting in a corner catatonic right now.
yeah.
Only reason why. And like, I get it, but like, at the same time, I'm just trying to live my life. If me trying to live my life makes you feel better somehow,
Yeah.
okay. But at the same time, I'm just very much what the heck?
Yeah, for me,
I like sometimes I'm like, I feel like that's condescending.
yeah, I think you take it more condescending, where me, and this might be just me being the me that I am, the innocent being that I am, of just being like, okay, yeah, I'll take that at face value, like, whatevs. But like, also, I feel like it can be, for some people, just like, oh, okay, maybe I can do XYZ because they can do XYZ.
Yeah, and granted, I get it. That I get. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
no,
get it. Like, I get why people can sometimes be amazed. I get it. Especially
Yeah.
if people know us in person, because we do not look blind.
Yeah.
We do not fall into the stereotypical what people think blind people look like, or, you know, how blind people should act. Again, we are the worst blind people you will probably ever meet.
Yeah.
Granted, a lot of that comes from how we were raised.
Yeah.
We were lucky with how we were raised and the opportunities and chances that we were given.
Yeah, and I think that all in all, I guess that is, in a way, an upside of itself. We have decided that we are going to do what we want to do. Yes, we might have to do things differently. Yes, there might be things that we can't do. But at the same time, we're not going to just sit here and twiddle our thumbs and be like, oh, that didn't work out. We're not going to keep moving forward with it. Instead, there may be times that you have to take time and figure out what you're going to do next. But you're not just not going to do anything. You're going to figure it out and move forward and live your life and do what you want to do.
And granted, it is us really finding our own way to do things, and sometimes that just isn't possible.
And sometimes it takes a very long time.
Sometimes it takes a very long time. Other times it's like we have done everything we could. Like for me with the LSATs, one of the things requires you to be able to draw diagrams and everything. Well, nobody ever taught me that. Heck, I was a freshman in college, and I finally learned what color theory was because my art teacher said, "Why the heck should I teach this to you?"
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't know what color theory was.
Yeah.
And literally, it was my roommates sitting across from me, going into the cafeteria and filling, like, multiple cups of just different drinks, and them just sitting there and mixing things together.
My God.
Oh, it was disgusting. The chef came out and looked at us, and he's like, "What the heck are you doing?" And my roommate was just like, "Chef, I'm so sorry. Our roommate is colorblind." And she was never taught color theory. And this is the only way we can think to teach her what color theory is. We felt so bad after, but like, it was
Well,
so
no, that's
gross.
just so weird.
Yeah. So like, there are things like that. And like for the logic games, nobody really taught me how to graph or draw diagrams. Nobody taught me that because I can't see that stuff. Like sometimes seeing that stuff is very hard. It's why geometry is the worst thing ever. Because like that's not something that Ari and I can do. And I looked everywhere to try to figure out how to teach myself this. And like even lawyers that our dad knows, when he would say, "Oh, she's taking the LSAT," or "Oh, she took the LSAT," and they're like, "How the heck did she do the logic games?" And some of them are just like so shocked that I'm in law school and everything because of those logic games, because I didn't know a way to do it. Like I literally just had to sit there and try to think it out in my head. So like I know that's the section I did the worst on, just for the reason of I couldn't find somebody to teach this to me or help me find a way to be able to do this without diagrams.
Yeah.
There was nobody, and like there was nobody I could go to like seek help for that. So like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's about all of them that we can think of. If we think of more, we'll make another list and we'll do another episode of this. But yeah, I think that even though some of these, as we've said, can be seen as downsides, overall, there is a lot more of an upside to it than there is a downside.
Yes.
All right. So that being said, we want to thank you guys for coming along today as we talked about the upsides of being blind. Of course, if you liked this episode, if you like what you've been listening to, please consider following the podcast and sharing the episode with your friends. It really would help us to grow the show, and we would appreciate the support those actions would give. And hey, if you just want to leave a review, that would be totally okay too. And then what are we going to be talking about next time?
Why we dislike amusement parks / roller coasters. I'm just going for amusement parks.
Okay. Well, that being said, hey, don't forget that it is a blind life, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.